Hi, and welcome. We'll get started in just a moment here. Thank you so much for joining the Connect Your Higher Power workshop, Faith for Clarity and Confidence. We'll get started in just a couple minutes here. So, if you can, go ahead and grab a pen and piece of paper or journal, something to write with and something to write on. And then, if you want, you can take a moment and type in the chat where you're joining from in the chat on the Zoom, and just give it maybe 1 or 2 minutes. We usually let people trickle in for a minute while we get set. So take a moment now, get set, grab something to write with and something to write on, and we'll get started here in just a moment. So happy to see you guys here. This is a really empowering workshop. So I'm really grateful that you're all here and ready to get going. Amber, what's up from Philly? So I just moved up here from Vermont to Vermont from southern Jersey, right outside of Philly, over in Marlton. So pretty darn close to you. And chilly Massachusetts. Uh, iPhone, you know what? It's getting warm though. I'm in Vermont. It's probably a little bit chillier than it even is over in Mass. But anyway, it's springtime. It's inevitable. It's going to be more. It's going to be getting warmer. And Chad's joining us from New Jersey. Oh, you love Marlton? Great. Actually, Chad's here from Marlton. And Todd's here from downtown LA. So, Todd, it is about 9 o'clock. So, thanks for starting your day with us and getting going. We got Cleveland and Deborah from Maplewood by way of a few other places as well. And actually, uh, my 15-year-old son and his mom are on their way to LA right now, Todd. So maybe they'll be hitting you up while they're out there. Uh, Absolutely wonderful to see you guys. Thanks so much for weighing in. I want to welcome you all here today. I'm really glad that you're here and that you made time to be here today for yourself because this is this is inspiring. We teach different workshops. If you've joined some of them, I know we have Deborah on, and Sekular's been on other workshops as well, and some of you guys may have as well. But uh, the faith workshop, I mean, connecting to your higher power, it's what's absolutely moved me to do what I do, and I'm inspired by each of you to deliver this message. There, the other workshops we do are the Aligned Habits workshop. We then added in the Epic Daily Ritual workshop, or actually the Focused and Free Break the Distraction Cycle workshop, because what we talk about there really resonated with folks from the Aligned Habits workshop. The point is, all of these workshops that we lead are designed to get you to connect to your higher power. In order to listen to your higher power and your inner voice, to live the life of your dreams, that life that you know you're meant to live, your destiny or your dharma, as it's referred to, your purpose in life. And so each of those workshops mention listening to your higher power and to your inner voice. But today we're going to dig deep into it, into why we feel faith, how we connect with that faith, how to use that faith to live the life of your dreams, to live as your true self. And, today in talking about faith, we're not going to be talking about faith in a religious or preachy way. I mean, for my life, I have been, Christian and Jewish, and I study Buddhism and Hinduism extensively, and as well as some of the South American, the Koro tradition. I find inspiration from all of those. And as we say, he who is known by 1,000 names and is the unnameable one. What we're talking about here is faith, not in a religious way. This is about something much more universal. This is not church or synagogue, or, by the way, we are in the middle of Passover right now, and Easter is upon us, and Ramadan just finished. And we want to recognize all those traditions, but this is about something much more universal. This is about all of us. whether you identify with a religion or not. Some people call it God or spirit or the universe or intuition. Some just feel that there's something bigger than themselves and that they know that they're a part of it. Whatever language you use, today is about learning how to connect with your higher power in everyday life and to use that to make your life better. Not just during crisis, not just during big decisions, but as a daily source of clarity, confidence, and direction. To live the life of your dreams, you have to have faith in yourself, faith in others, and faith in a higher power. Faith is not just imploring God, universal source, or the spirit of all that is in the times of crisis and tragedy to come help you out. A lot of times we have difficult things happen and we just are like, God, please, please let me get through this. And yes, it's important for that faith to sustain you in your challenging times. But faith is also the state of mind to clearly appreciate that all is transpiring in perfect harmony. Even when things don't go our way and life takes us down to our dark valleys, it's just a part of where we're meant to be. And when we don't identify as much with the ego, we realize those times are helping us get to our next big peak. That's where we're meant to learn, where we're meant to get our next big inspiration. And those valleys set us up to reach our highest peaks. But to see that and get to that peak, you have to have complete faith when you're in the valley of despair, or else you could get stuck there. The Lord's Prayer says, "Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven." On earth as it is in heaven. Heaven is here now on earth. It's not some later destination, although it can be. But the point in that is, it's a glorious, beautiful world. It's heaven here now, if you decide to see it that way. You don't have to live in this tragic world of misery. In fact, things are better now than they have been at any point in human history for more people. I know it doesn't feel that way when you watch the news, but even as tragedies unfold, perhaps it's exactly as it's meant to be, to bring out the goodness in man. When you see the world with the splendor of the great spirit all around, you can see love in everything. It's all around us, always, if we just open up our eyes and see. Dr. Martin Luther King said, faith is taking the first step, even when you don't see the whole staircase. And that's really what today is all about. It's about taking the first step. This is the fourth in a series of workshops. We start with the Aligned Habits workshop to see our purpose in life, to see our true selves, and to create goals that help us live life as that true self. And then create habits that will make achieving those goals inevitable. And then, we move from that to breaking the focused and free workshop to break the distraction cycle, to stay focused on achieving those goals. And then we head into the epic daily ritual, which is creating morning and evening routines to help set us up for success. And all that builds up to today, to the faith workshop. Because what we're here to talk about is taking that first step that Dr. King talks about. It's about learning how to take the next step, even when you haven't figured it all out. Faith should inspire you to action rather than keep you waiting for a sign. So the question is, are you willing to take the first step, even if you don't see the whole staircase? Today, we're going to talk about creating that through deliberate action, taking direct action, and how to connect with that faith for a daily practice. So we're going to talk about that. And before we get deep into it, why don't we all just settle in, get grounded? And by the way, I saw you, Karen, Mount Dora or Mount Doral, maybe, Florida. So welcome from Florida. We got from Florida to California to New Jersey and Massachusetts and Vermont. We got everyone everywhere. So thank you guys so much for being here. Really excited. Let's get going. But before we do that, let's get a little bit grounded. So what we do when we get grounded is to just take a moment to drop into complete presence. I want you to, for the next hour, don't look at email and social media and texts, and definitely don't look at the news. That'll take you down a nasty detour. Let's instead just be fully present here. So if you can join me in closing your eyes or bringing your gaze down low if closing your eyes isn't comfortable for you. And let's take a few deep breaths. To be fully present here, take a deep breath in through your nose and then sigh it out. We're going to do two more of those. I want you to take a deep, deep breath into your nose. I want you to take as much air into the bottom of your lungs as you can. So join me, take a deep breath in through your nose, little sips of air, feel your chest expand, and then hold it. And then let it go, sigh it out. We're going to do one more of those. Again, deep breath in through your nose. Hold it. And then let it all go. Maybe awoken your body and your breath a little bit. Keep your eyes closed or your gaze down low. And find your breath, just your natural breath in and out through your nose if possible. It's okay to breathe out of your mouth if you have to, but if you can, feel the air coming in and out through your nose. You're starting to become a little bit more calm when you had those big exhales a moment ago. You release sterile air. You release tension that you were holding in your body. And now just find your regular breath, almost a circular breath, feeling the air coming in and out through your nose. Don't try to force it. You don't need to do deep breaths. Just find your regular breath, but notice the breath. You want to notice the air coming in and out through your nose. You may feel the air passing, warm air, cooler air coming in on an inhale, warmer air going out on an exhale. You may feel it just inside your nostrils. You may feel the air passing by that little space between the bottom of your nose and the top of your lip. You may even just feel your lungs expanding and contracting. Breathing in fully, exhaling completely. Feeling the air coming in and going out, being fully present here. And as you notice your breath, try to quiet your mind by just noticing the breath. The air coming in and out. Notice the sensations in your body. Don't get stuck on any particular thought. If a thought comes up, just let it pass, like the clouds passing through the sky. Or just let it drop, like the raindrops that'll be falling in April to bring the May flowers. Just let the thoughts go and don't stay stuck on them. Don't follow them. Just let them go and return to the breath. An inhale, followed by an exhale. Our breath is always with us, but we don't always notice it. We don't always take note of the air coming in and going out, but every moment we're breathing and our heart is beating. So take this time to breathe fully. And when you're ready, start to flutter your eyes a little bit, bringing some presence back here to the current moment. being fully alive with each of us who are here now, ready to grow and learn together. And now that we're here, let's start talking about faith and how it can help us live with clarity and confidence. Faith is already within you. Here's something important. Faith is not something that some people have and others don't. Faith is already within us all. You may not always recognize it, and you may not always listen to it, but the vast majority of humans feel connected to something beyond themselves. We see all these statistics on what percentage of people are particular faiths or denominations. And those tend to divide us into particular categories. But I saw something absolutely beautiful about a year ago. And it was a Pew Research Center study called Spirituality Among Americans. It showed that 88% of Americans believe in God, a higher power, or a spiritual force, something bigger than themselves. And when I read that, my mind was absolutely blown and I was elated. I couldn't believe it. 88% of Americans agree on something, and something that a lot of people call abstract, but how beautiful. 88% of Americans believe in God, a higher power, or a spiritual force. I was absolutely blown away and ecstatic. It's finally something we can all agree on. Well, almost all of us. There are 12% that don't believe in that. But, this was cause for celebration. And despite these seemingly challenging times and so much negativity, people are retaining their faith in a higher power or source of life greater than themselves. In a world where folks argue about almost everything and, vitriol on, Facebook and X and all the platforms out there, we're almost completely united in this one quiet belief that there is something greater than just us alone. And therefore, we're not alone. We are united, and that is powerful. To raise the collective consciousness together, we have to believe. To make a better world, we have to believe in something greater than ourselves. And that means that connection isn't rare. Connection is human. It's universal. We're going to talk about today why we feel that. We each individually feel that connection, or at least believe it is there for us to access. We have faith. But what is faith? Faith isn't just asking for help when things go wrong and challenges come. And trust me, if you're dealing with challenges right now, I am right there with you. This has been one of the most challenging periods of time in my life. But I have retained that faith, and if anything, deepened that faith, and known that my higher power is directing me towards something greater, and that in this deep, dark valley, my highest peak is set to come, because that is where you get clear. Faith is a state of mind. It's the understanding that even when life takes us into our difficult valleys, those valleys are preparing us for our highest peaks. But to reach those peaks, we have to hold faith while we're still in the valley. And even, a lot of people get on peaks and are living great, but what they do on the peak sets them up for the next valley, because they lose their faith and they're not grateful during that time. Be grateful for all the struggles and all the pain that you've endured. It's not essential to hold on to it. And going beyond letting it go, you want to express complete gratitude for your struggles. And I'm glad you asked, Sarah, what my challenges are, and I'm happy to share. I've written a couple articles recently that you can find on the website, benparvey.com. If you look under blogs or articles, you can find them there. I posted some of these recently, but over the last 10 months, in May of last year, now we're going close to a year. It was the end of May, like beginning of June. My wife ruptured her Achilles. And back then we had five kids. Now we have seven. I'll get to that in a second. But I'll try to cover this fast. But it's sort of been a culmination of different things being really challenging. And so all of a sudden I was taking care of our five kids and caring for her. And my goals, everything I was working on was sort of blown to bits all at once because it was the end of school, getting ready to be the beginning of summer and summer camps and graduations and all that. And I was caring for her. I didn't even have time to shower or feed myself. I was running around taking care of everyone. I was mom and dad. I was doing all the tucking in, all the packing lunches, all the transportation, getting all these kids to different places. Uh, and gradually it went from her having surgery. She was totally bedridden for almost 6 weeks, being, going in a wheelchair to crutches to a boot, being able to move. And then the summer, we came to Vermont for vacation, and we decided that we were going to move here. So she was going to continue, since we moved at the last minute. She was a teacher to stay teaching. She didn't want to leave her co-teacher and her students hanging in the school. So she stayed there. She was going back and forth. So we rented a house here while we figured that out. And we had to do some work on our home, outside of Philadelphia, and get that fixed up in order to sell. We listed that recently. It's still in the market. Around Thanksgiving time, my oldest son passed out behind the wheel 2 days after he got his license from supposedly a seizure. And it's inconclusive right now, and he has to get MRIs to determine what that is. But he can't drive. We're not letting him drive until that's cleared up. So two different health challenges, between my wife and him. Uh, and then December 10th, right after that, my goddaughter from North Carolina, she told me that she and her sister had been taken into foster care because their mother is a drug addict, and a whole bunch of circumstances, but they were taken in the foster system. Well, we weren't going to let that happen. I flew down there a week later, hired an attorney, and we got custody of the girls in January. So all of a sudden in January, I went from five kids to seven kids, and a true blessing to be able to take care of them. And they're beautiful, wonderful girls. I mean, they do great in school. They're student athletes, and 12 and 15-year-old girls, though, dealing with troubling circumstances. I'm not going to say it's all easy, but they are wonderful, wonderful kids and a true blessing for us and our family. And that being said, as soon as that happened, my wife then came here. She was with our 4-year-old going back and forth between New Jersey and Vermont. So overnight, we went from 4 to 8 people in January living in a 3-bedroom, 2-bath rental house while we wait for our house to sell in New Jersey and are under contract on a house here. That's probably way more detail than you wanted to know. And on top of that, lots of financial challenges related to, carrying a house there, listing it, getting fixed up, and business kind of up and down in different ways. Thank goodness, my legacy business, Blue Sky Power, has had some recent projects and successes. But I'm not going to say it's easy, but running two businesses, having all these kids. So yeah, my challenge has been tough. And this has been one of those valleys in life. And all this kind of happened at the time I was getting ready to launch this new business, Inspiration Nation, and publish my book, which will be out soon. And it's a lot going on at once. But the point in that is that in those valleys, it sets us up for our next peak because we're able to see clearly how to get out. We see who we truly are during those periods of struggle. And if we express gratitude for everything and recognize what we do have during that period of time, there's a great book called The Gap and the Gain by Dr. Benjamin Hardy and Dan Sullivan about measuring the gain in life, not the gap. So in the valley, you're not measuring what you don't have. Instead, you're grateful for what you do have. Or, the book Peaks and Valleys by Dr. Spencer Johnson, which I can't recommend enough. That's the analogy I'm drawing in Peaks and Valleys. Look, like after the Great Depression, the economy grew for years in its largest expansion ever in American history. After the COVID deep recession in 2020, the economy skyrocketed. I mentioned these larger, macroeconomic conditions because it's the same in our personal lives. When we go through challenging times, we come out rising higher than before because we knew we didn't want to stay stuck there. I mean, see, some people do stay stuck in despair and don't get out. But most people usually come out rising higher than they ever did before. Because during that challenging time, we're grateful for all unfolding exactly as it's meant to. When you're knocked down off your mountain and thrown down into the valleys of life, you are preparing to climb to your next summit. So read that book, Peaks and Valleys by Dr. Spencer Johnson. There's so much wisdom in there. And one great quote that Dr. Johnson says in that book is, the path out of the valley appears when you choose to see things differently. Or as Wayne Dyer put it, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at begin to change. So when you're in the valley of life, when the challenges are compounding, view them with love and gratitude. This is happening for me, not to me. The other day, I expressed such extraordinary gratitude for all of those challenges that have come to me over these few months. It was like everything all at once, compressed in. And we go through seasons and cycles in life. We go through times when everything is happening at once. And then we go through periods of time where everything seems joyful and great. Or as Mel Robbins puts it, life is gritty and hard, then suddenly it's great and amazing. During this period of time, some of which I've talked about in previous workshops, and I just went through those challenges. I've expressed gratitude because I know that those current struggles and the past few months of compounding challenges are going to lead to the most extraordinary growth I've ever experienced. And instead of being stuck in the valley, I've taken massive action to get to the next phase of life, to inspiring people, to getting my book ready for publication, to doing workshops, for offering these free workshops that allow me to connect with the greater community of Inspiration Nation. And it's been growing each and every week. We're now up to almost 8,000 people who have, our message has resonated with and have done different workshops and, applied to be on our mailing list. They found us through some means of communication that we put out there to inspire people. So instead of sinking down to let the challenges overcome me, I'm loving the challenges. I'm taking massive action to sprint towards my future self. Like I said, life goes in seasons and cycles, and in the season of struggle grows the strength for our next big leap forward. And there's another great book. Another great reference is The Big Leap by Dr. Gay Hendricks. In your valley, you're preparing for that next summit. You love the struggle and the pain and the challenges because it makes you better off. It makes you better off than you were before. It allows you to grow more than when life is easy. You don't grow when life is easy. You grow when it's hard. Be grateful for the winter of life because soon comes the spring. It is your time to bloom. You needed the darkness of winter to grow in the light of spring, and we are here now. All those beautiful flowers that you see right now or are about to start seeing are all buried in darkness throughout the winter, and we don't see them. Or as Emery Hall said in the beautiful song Muddied, short little song, but it's with Trevor Hall, who you may have heard of. It says, spring will come with its long light and lessons of how we need some seasons of darkness in order to bloom. As we heard from, as we head from this long, dark winter, both actually as well as metaphorically in life, there's been a lot going on, a lot of heavy stuff in the world this winter. And we head into the long light of spring. Let's let the period of darkness in our lives fade away into the past. With faith, be grateful for the periods of darkness, for that is how we know the light of joy and positivity. Or put more simply, this is happening for me, not to me. So we're going to head into a journal prompt. And just to answer your questions, which, I follow along with as well, as absolutely, Stuart, I wish I had said it. I try to make some announcements at the beginning, and I need to make a note to do that. Is absolutely, the recording will be shared. All our resources are going to be shared. And, glad it's a banger already. And we're just getting going. So stick around. We got plenty more excitement to come and inspiration. And some statistics to share with you on faith, as well as some further inspiration on getting clear and using faith. So yeah, it may not be this afternoon. I think usually it comes the next morning. You'll get the recording. You'll get our resources like our true self system and our habit tracker, our habitually inspired habit tracker. So yeah, you will definitely do that. And no, it wasn't you, Stuart. It was me. Some workshops I remember to make that announcement that we'll share it. I did not today. So no, all me, brother. Um, and just Deborah, you believe challenges are important. Challenges are what make us strong, and we learn from those challenges, especially when we don't give up. Yeah, I mean that it's called resilience, Deborah. And when we're resilient and don't give up, that's where we realize what we can accomplish. We realize what we can endure, and you know, there's a great quote. It's in my journal, and I forget who said it, but it's get up one more time than they knock you down. I mean, it's clear. It's easy enough. So get out your journal, get out a piece of paper, get something to write with. And this is just getting us thinking about where we feel the most connected. Where do you go to connect with the divine? Is it a house of worship in nature? Just closing your eyes at home, through meditation or prayer. Uh, is it looking in the mirror? If you've heard some of my other workshops, my book is called The Light in the Mirror, about the practice of saying, I love you in the mirror. Where and, or how do you feel the most connected to your divine source? And put it in the chat. Like Chad said there, walk in the woods. I certainly feel it, in the woods, but I feel it most when I meditate with my eyes closed. Yeah, with my eyes closed, I feel the most connected and get insight that I have not had when my eyes are open. That's funny. I was typing. It said mediate when my eyes are closed in mediation. Um, hopefully not. Hopefully I don't have to be in a mediation for anything. Um, but I guess mediation's a lot better than litigating, right? Quiet time in your sunroom, a walk in the woods. Yeah. By all means, share if you feel called to share. If not, that's okay too. I pray, meditate, and love walking around the lake and being in nature. Yes, we feel connected. And in a minute, for everyone, but I mean, Deborah and Chad are talking about being in nature. We'll we're going to talk a little bit more about why we feel that connection. I'm not my thoughts. Yeah, absolutely, Stuart. Outflank negative biases, exercise, right? Ego, stories, pain body. Yeah, it's easy to get stuck in. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, referencing the pain body, I assume you're referencing Eckhart Tolle there. And absolutely. I mean, we play these mental models over and over again, and that's not us. You learn to become the observer of your thoughts and realize the thought patterns that the ego gets into and plays on repeat. And when you become the observer of your thoughts, that's when you're in connection with your spirit, because you're an eternal being. I mean, it's not just, I don't look the same as I did, when I was 5 years old. Am I the same person? It's my spirit, it's my soul that is the same. It's not the ego or the body. Uh, Sarah, you're growing in it. Uh, yeah, it's not necessarily that you have to lean on God, Sarah. Yeah, and certainly the business of life does get in the way, which is why we need to be intentional about making, as you said, the simple daily rituals that to get us through. Um, I love that, Karen. Everywhere, especially whatever you can see, hear, and smell. Yeah, absolutely. And I go through, I can't say I'm there all the time, but I do go through some periods of time where I see light and love in everything. And those periods of time are absolutely beautiful. I can walk into a gym for one my son's practice or something. And I feel love coming from every person and I feel that divine connection to everyone. And it's incredible. I love those periods of time. I can't say I'm always there. My goal is to try to get there. Um, yeah, just reading through what you got there, Stuart. Yeah, leaning into loving what you do. Yeah, absolutely. And in our aligned habits workshop, we do talk about loving what you do or doing what's in line with your true self. So we certainly do get into that. So um, thank you everyone for sharing that. I really appreciate that. I mean, faith is something that's deeply personal. So it's interesting to share. We all view it a little bit separately, but so many of us feel connected. Like I said, 88% of people feel connected to, God, source, or higher power based on that Pew Research study. So the next we're going to talk about why we feel this connection. Why do humans feel this faith connection? It's interesting. I sometimes see it, you sometimes see it in groups of animals. I mean, when I used to live on the farm, I observed groups of turkeys like standing in a direction, almost like they were praying. And it wasn't just, sort of with the sun. They seem to be, you see different animals doing things where they seem connected to something bigger than just themselves or each other. And for humans, we see this in people in faith communities, but more individually, if we can't see this source, spirit or God or higher power, why do the vast majority of us agree that it's here? How is it that we're united by something unproven, but about which so many of us are certain? Seems unfathomable. It's possible because we're all united by our composition, by what we're made of. So the reason we feel faith or we feel connected is because we share the same origin. And I don't just mean, that we have skins and, legs and arms and bones and tissue. It's bigger than that. We're made of the same elements that propel the universe forward and always have. Living extraordinary life is no more difficult than recognizing that you are made of the same stuff as stars. This is not some metaphysical conjecture. The elements of your body come directly from the star that imploded to make Earth. You feel a connection to the universe because you are the universe. You are not separate from your source. As the famous astronomer, you see it there, Carl Sagan, he was a host of the Cosmos TV series, put it, the nitrogen in our DNA, the calcium in our teeth, the iron in our blood were made in the interiors of collapsing stars. We are made of star stuff. Think about that. Every element in your body came from the universe. You didn't just come from your parents. You came from the cosmos itself. The oxygen in your blood, the oxygen in your body, the iron in your blood, the carbon in your cells were all forged in collapsing stars long before Earth existed. You came from the universe. Every element of your body came from beyond our current physical world. Every element in your body is billions of years old. That is why we feel this amazing connection to a higher power. That's why 88% of Americans believe in God, a higher power, or spiritual force. We're all connected by that force, which reverberates within us. We feel it within the cells of our body. We remember it. So when you feel a connection to something bigger, you aren't imagining it. You actually are a part of something bigger. You are made of the same stuff as stars and are meant to shine. You are made of the same stuff as stars and are meant to shine. And so is everyone and everything else around you. You are meant to be expansive, abundant, and growing like the universe. You are it, and it is you. Now, that can be overwhelming, and it can seem distant, but it can also be a reassurance that we are all united, connected, and all in this together. Our faith in the universal source and ourselves as a part of that higher power can ground us in faith and unite us for mutual greatness. It can raise our collective consciousness together. So that's why we feel faith. But why do we not necessarily feel that daily connection? We want to address the daily connection problem. Since most of us feel this connection to a higher power, and we're mutually formed from that source of all that is, why don't we all feel connected in constant bliss? Like I said, I feel it a lot, and I put a lot of time and effort into being united with the source of all that is. But why don't I always feel that? Why do so many people struggle to stay connected? They only reach for faith when things fall apart or challenges appear. And some people say, hey, I'm a good person and that's good enough. Or, I have faith when I go to a service or, when I walk in nature. But why don't we feel constantly connected? Why do people pray to God for help when the job is in danger or the relationship is breaking or when health is failing? Praying for healing. Or even when the airplane turbulence takes us on a wild ride. We've all been there. God, please let us get back safely to Earth. Or I remember I was on a flight once. I don't remember where it was going. I think it was going to Florida somewhere, and it was up and down. It was like one of those Canada Air regional jets, uh, and it's going up and down. I mean, it's one of those where like you have that huge drop. I mean, we're like you're just dropping and dropping, and it's not stopping. Like it just kept dropping. And there's a lady, I think maybe like I'm sort of imagining or remembering like 2 aisles over and to the right. And she's going, Jesus, 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 Jesus. And she said Jesus, implored Jesus probably about 500 times. And I'm not sure if that was a form of her regular practice was to, recite the name of Jesus, to implore the Son of God, in her belief system to come and be with us then. But you know, when the plane's taking us on a wild ride, we're all thinking the same thing. God, please let us get back. Please let us not die right now. And yeah, like Stuart says, survival mode does create a need for it. But it's um sometimes it's just a routine though. That we only give our partial attention, meaning reciting words without feeling them, meaning being at, a service at church or synagogue or mosque or temple or, saying, invoking, the Lord's Prayer or something that, we know the words and we recite the words, but without feeling them or understanding the gravity of it, or like I said earlier, the Lord's Prayer, on earth as it is in heaven, do we really feel that presence of God on earth here as it is in heaven? Do we think about those words? or sometimes we just know there's a deeper level that we can reach. Um, and we don't reach for that. But, divine connection doesn't just work like an emergency hotline. Connection works like a relationship. If you only talk to someone once a year, you won't feel as close to them. I mean, we all have some good friends that, we talk to once a year, every few years, and, it's like we, pick up where we left off. But, your relationships are stronger where you work at them consistently. And faith grows the exact same way through daily contact, through small moments, through quiet listening. And, that can be daily meditation or prayers. It can be noticing the stars, the sunrise, the sunset, or the full moon that we had last night, and feeling awe in that majestic, infinite glory, feeling that connection to those stars that we're a part of. It can be sitting in silence to listen to the window of your soul, or listening to the wind or your breath and notice the direction you receive from the source of life. Whatever feels right to you. To step away from that mundane blindness of modern life and to open your eyes and your heart to the glorious world that's all around you. The way that is always available to you. It is the way, and it is always there. So let's talk about how to practice communing with your higher power. Excuse me. I've often said meditation is prayer without asking for anything. So whatever you call it, prayer, meditation, circumspection, sitting quietly. I have a friend who calls it paddling. He gets up early at like 4 a.m. and sits on the couch before doing any work. And I told him about meditation. He goes, "Oh, I sit on the couch sometime, and I call it paddling, like when you're on a canoe and just quietly going over a lake." And I'm like, "Oh, I mean, that sounds like you're meditating." Practice sitting with your higher power and listening, not asking for anything, not pleading for something different, not complaining, just listening. Listening. I think Deborah, who's here today, may have said in a prior workshop, or someone said it. Um, I think you said it, Deborah. Said, does anyone ever stop and ask God, what God wants? And it's these periods of time where we're quiet. Don't just tell God what we want and ask for things to be better, or ask for our healing, or a better job, or that the kids behave better, or whatever it is. But actually listening and getting that direction. We'll go a little bit more into it in a minute, but you want to start your day with faith. We talk about it, and I'm not going to go deep into this right now, but I just want to make the point. We talk about it in the Focused and Free, Break the Distractions cycle workshop, of not looking at the phone for the first hour of the day and the last hour before you go to bed. It's a great way to start your day with faith. And there are a couple other practices I go into. One of them is, as soon as your feet hit the floor, or even as you're in bed, or before you even get to the bathroom, say to yourself, or even out loud, exclaim, "It's going to be an amazing day." Try it. It's going to be an amazing day. As soon as your feet hit the floor, look into the mirror and say, "I love you." See the love of your higher power within you. And soon you start to see it in everyone and in everything else. Write it down. Prayer is powerful. And writing down what your higher power showed you in moments of silent listening is vital to making it come to life. When we get that inspiration, everyone talked about where they feel the most connection, whether that's, on a hike outdoors, or in meditation, or in prayer, or, I think someone said, sitting quietly in the sunroom, wherever it is, you feel that connection. When you are quiet, when you quiet your mind and you listen and you open your heart, then write down what you hear because that's how you make it real. That's how you make it real. You're getting divine inspiration. And you don't just want to, hey, that's this feeling. I know someday I'm supposed to be doing something, or, you get some inspiration or some feeling. You got to act on it. Faith isn't just waiting for success without action, it's the ability to take action without fear of failure. To have confidence and take the next step, even if you don't see the whole staircase, like Dr. King said. You are a co-creator in your life. Like Dr. King said, faith is taking the first step without seeing the whole staircase. The point is, it's taking a step. You are a co-creator. There may be a creator of all that is, but you are co-creating your life. You can't just sit around and wait for divine intervention. That divine intervention was the inspiration that you received. It was the joy you felt that you want to prolong. It was the clear direction on where you need to head in your relationships, in your personal life, in your professional life. When the phone rings, you got to take the call. So write it down. Write it down. Write down what you hear so that you can take action. And you want to practice gratitude without asking for anything. Secular just said, gratitude, being grateful for everything. Absolutely. Thank your higher power for your life, good and bad. This is happening for me, not to me. This is happening for me, not to me. Thank your higher power. Like I said, all of these challenges I've been going through, I love every single one of them. Why? Because it's setting me up for what's next. I'm being given these challenges so that I can overcome them and be the better version of myself than when I went into them. So practice gratitude. These are keys to your connection. These are the keys to the kingdom, we'll call it. Keys to connection, gratitude, stillness. We're going to go through these. Like I said, just finding some stillness. Listen, as you see there, listen and silent are the same letters in a different order. We tend to treat prayer as a one-way line. We do all the talking and none of the listening. Sitting with your eyes closed and just focusing on your breath, like when we were grounding at the beginning. I may have been talking some, but when I do a longer meditation, usually I'm quiet. I'm now starting teaching as of next week, teaching meditation at Trapp Family Lodge. If you ever seen The Sound of Music, the Von Trapp family, they opened a lodge here in Vermont, which has been here for 75 years. And I'm going to be teaching meditation. And I try to lead people to their breath, but then I'm silent. I want people to just sit with their eyes closed. And you just focus on your breath, and your higher power allows you to open yourself up to wisdom and guidance. So find some stillness, whatever that is for you, in prayer or meditation. You can sit in the lotus position, or you can just sit quietly in a chair. You can take a walk. Just find time for silence. There's so much noise. And this dreaded device, I mean, there's a cute picture of my daughter there as I look at it. But, this is a weapon of mass distraction, and it's on everyone all the time. Put away the phone and try to find some silence. Try to just listen. Another key to connection or keys to the kingdom, is your dreams. Talk about what excites you and why. Share those feelings with your higher power. Be open and be vulnerable. Manifest those what you want in your life by sharing them and then seeking divine guidance for how to bring them to life. I mean, most likely those goals and dreams that you have, I mean, most likely those came from divine intervention in the first place. They're not someone else's goals and dreams. They're what you may have come up with. They were given to you. Focus on them. Ask God how to make them real. Ask your higher power how to bring them about. Another way, another key to the connection is through others. You can learn to share your light with others by lifting them up during your prayer meditation practice. I mean, a lot of times during my meditation, I feel that love and pass it forward to, like, I can feel the heartbeats of each of my family members and my wife. And sometimes I even feel, all the way through to my dogs and the trees and everything outside. I feel it all alive together. But share your light with others by lifting them up. You may be going through certain things, but cast your light out to others. Lift them up. A lot of times during prayer, we pray for others. And you might get some divine inspiration for how you can help others. It's another key to your connection. And, another important part of that connection is to make it sacred time. Many people link prayer with meals or with bedtime, meaning it's become kind of routine. And we talk about in the Epic Daily Ritual, which is our workshop we did last week. We'll do it again in 3 weeks. But in that, we talk about the difference between rituals and routines. If we're just praying and saying words during meals or bedtime, or in a house of worship where we're just saying words, sometimes it's important to make those meaningful, make it sacred time. Often those are just routine and we're not being fully present with our higher power. You're thinking that it's time to eat or it's time to sleep, so I'm going to say these words. Your connection with your faith deserves something more intentional. A sacred time in your day when you can commune with your higher power, not do it just as a part of other existing routines, meaning make special sacred time to commune with your higher power. Reframe, it's a great opportunity to reframe your daily relationship to your faith. It's not just for when things break and when you want a quick fix. Your higher power is here now, waiting for you, within you, and all around you. It is the way and the light. It's not an emergency hotline, a last resort, or just a once per week tradition, saved for Sundays. It is you and you are it. You're not separate from your source. You are your source. Your source is you. You are divine. Your connection to your higher power provides you with constant, ongoing alignment, an endless well of compassion, clarity, and support. So we've talked some about the daily connection problem and gave some tips and for how to make that daily connection and the keys to that connection or the keys to the kingdom. How to connect daily. Let me go through a very simple daily practice. And you may have your own practices. I'm just offering these as possibilities. Is it possible to connect daily? And it is. You can use this whether you're deeply religious or just spiritually curious. So here's step one. And this is a great practice to work on. Try this, maybe for a few days. Before starting your day or making a big decision, just ask your higher power, what is the right next step? Not the easiest step, not the fastest step, but the right one. Seek that divine guidance. Let it guide you in your daily life. Like Deborah said a minute ago, um, about you know her faith having control of her life and what happens. Maybe you ask, what is the right next step? Not the easiest step, not the fast one, the right one. The one that's aligned with your true self. So pause before direction and then listen. Step two, listen for quiet clarity. Connection rarely sounds dramatic. It usually feels like a calm knowing or a gentle pull or a simple, honest answer. Not fireworks, not a grand sign, not a burning bush like Moses got. I used to look for or even hope for some sort of big eureka moment while meditating, or think that through meditation, I would arrive at some profound breakthrough in business, personal, or spiritual knowledge that I didn't have before. Now, and I want to make sure I clarify in that. Don't get me wrong in this. I certainly have received incredibly profound visions or insight that I had not had before during silent circumspection or meditation. And some of this clarity was life defining, and I used it for substantial transformation. But I was often thinking too hard and expecting a specific result. Only recently, after years and years of meditation, am I getting to a place of being fully present and just quieting my mind and opening my heart. And then comes that quiet knowing, that clear direction, that guidance I hadn't seen before. That's where that true connection resides, in sacred stillness, not in our frantic, fast-paced mind that we just runs constantly. As Stuart said, earlier, it's just finding that calmness in sacred stillness. So step three, once you've found that sacred stillness, once you've taken time to listen for quiet clarity, after asking what's the right next step, take one faith-based action. With faith in the direction that you're being called to follow, take the right next step. Florence Scovel Shinn said, faith knows it has already received and acts accordingly. Faith knows it has already received and acts accordingly. Faith grows when you act, not when you wait for certainty. See it, believe it, and then act it out. Whatever you want is there for you if you see it in your mind. That vision that you have is yours and yours alone. It wasn't given to anyone else but you. God gave it to you, not to anyone else. But it will die with you if you do not act. You know what you must do, and yet you wait. Les Brown has this amazing visual he gives in a speech of The perfect way to pass on to the next life is to be surrounded by friends and family having accomplished everything that you wanted to accomplish. But the worst way is to be on your deathbed with your goals and dreams standing around you with sad, angry eyes saying, I came to you. It was up to you to give us life, and you didn't act. And now we must die with you. How poignant. When I heard that, it was one of the most profound things I've ever heard. And I said, I've got to get out and inspire people because that's what I'm meant to do. My dreams, my God-given talents aren't going to die with me. You must do what you are called to do. And you have to take action. Like this step is take one faith-based action. What are you called to do? As the Dalai Lama said, there are only 2 days in the year that nothing can be done. One is called yesterday, and the other is called tomorrow. Today is the right day to love, believe, do, and mostly live. Today is the day you have to take action, not tomorrow. You can't do anything about yesterday. Today is the day. Be your true self now. Take that action to leap to your calling. And step 4, release the outcome. That's it. Your job is the step. You're done at step 3, taking the action. Let it go. Don't try to control the result. Your job was to take the faith-based action. God's job is to do something with that. You have put it out into the universe. Once you take the action, let go of controlling the result. That alone removes tremendous anxiety, worry, and fear. That's it. Your job is done. There is no need to await the result. Do you know how much time that we spend waiting for the result? How much mental energy and how much effort we spend on awaiting the result? Your direction was the step. You were directed to take the step and you took it. If you have a grand vision, it may be a series of small steps, but your only job is the next step. Do not stay wed to the result. You want to release the result out into the universe. You take that faith-based action that was clear to you, and then you release from the result. As the Bhagavad Gita says, Bhagavad Gita is a beautiful Hindu text. It's short. If you've ever read it, it's incredibly profound. When your calling arises, it says, take action without attachment to the fruits of action. Take action without attachment to the fruits of action. So it means take action without attaching to the success or the failure of that action. Surrender to the divine. Offer the results of all actions to God, reducing your ego's control. Stop trying to control the results. Stop trying to force other people into a specific result. Just take the action. Take action without fear of the outcome. There is no success and failure. Those are ego-created concepts. There's no success or failure. There is just action. There's only action to fulfill your duty, your dharma, what you have been called to do, which you discover in silence. In the Tao Te Ching, Lao Tzu says, success is as dangerous as failure. Whether you go up the ladder or down it, your position is shaky. When you stand with your 2 feet on the ground, you will always keep your balance. Always keep your balance. Don't worry about success or failure. It doesn't really matter. As we talked about earlier, going through challenging times how you makes you better. So if you fail, so what? It's not going to kill you unless maybe you're a trapeze artist, in which case failure may not be good. But even then, you may have a net. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. We're going to talk about having that net in just a minute. Now, pull out your journal or a piece of paper. And I want you to think for a minute. What is something that you could achieve by taking one small step towards your true calling? And I'm going to give you a couple minutes to think about that. You may not necessarily know the answer right now, and that's okay. And maybe you want to journal about this later after some silent circumspection, doing those steps we just talked about. Before closing your eyes, saying, what's the next right step? And then being silent. And once that next step is clear, taking the action and then releasing from the result. What's something you could achieve by taking one small first step? I'll give you a couple minutes to think about. Pull out your journal or piece of paper and ponder that. Close your eyes for a couple minutes and think about that, and then write that down. All right, begin to bring some presence back here. Remember, anytime we do journal prompts, these are always available for you to do after, the slides and the recording will be made available to you. So come back to this, something you could achieve by taking one small first step. And you might want to do as we suggested, ask about what is the next right step, and then closing your eyes in silence. And then writing that down and taking that action and releasing from that action, not worrying about success or failure, but just doing what you know you're directed to do, just taking the action. We're going to cover a little bit here before we close, then we have another exercise. But next, I want to talk about taking action a little bit more. Taking that first step that Dr. King described. We want to talk about how you leap, and when you leap, the net will appear. Faith heals us physically and emotionally, but beyond healing, faith is essential for our success in our personal and professional lives. If you want to be the person you are meant to be, have fulfilling work you are meant to do, and have loving relationships that you deserve, then see them with faith and bring them to life. You don't just wait for them to occur. And what calls you from within may change as you pay more attention to it. After 18 years of developing clean energy projects and helping schools and towns be more sustainable with clean energy, that still small voice has told me to do something more, to talk to you, to write a book and another book and another book, to inspire you to listen to your inner voice, to inspire you to become your true self. In the immortal words of the naturalist and author John Burroughs, leap and the net will appear. That is faith. That is what is being asked by your higher power, that still small voice within you. Just leap into it, whatever it is for you, whatever you think about regularly, that you know you will love and will make you happy. You must do. You must do it. Whatever you heard or saw in sacred stillness, whatever it was that you were guided to do. For a lot of us, we've known what that is. That is your true self. You've known what it is perhaps since you were a kid or maybe just for the last few days. There's something inside calling you. That is your true self. And it's where you will find joy. Leap to your calling. We all have it. It calls to us regularly and we ignore it and go through the motions. We do what we are, quote, supposed to do. We do what the modern world, our parents, our friends, and society expect us to do. But you know what? That's not reality. It's just your perception or their perception. That is not what the universe requires of you. It is not what you are capable of. You know what you want in life, but you have to have faith that you can get it. You can bring it into your life, that it's already yours. Just like we said earlier, faith knows it is already received and acts accordingly. You have to have faith that you can heal those wounds that keep you stuck. And then after you move on from what's been holding you back, you take affirmative steps so that the staircase will appear. You have to build the staircase. So I want you to contemplate for a minute. I want you to take a few minutes in sacred stillness here. And then after we do this, we'll proceed to close. But I want you to take a few moments and consider the divine direction that you have received or wish to receive. And listen for direction. What are you being guided to do? You may ask, what is my purpose in life? Which a lot of people do. And we've created ways to be able to help you with the true self system to understand your purpose and then act on it. You may ask, what is my purpose, or who am I supposed to be? But the answer is already within you. You've always known. And now it's time to leap, and the net will appear. So take some time in stillness. Consider your divine direction. And just listen. We're going to do that for just a few moments. Take some stillness. Close your eyes. and consider your divine direction. All right. If you can now, after receiving some divine direction, again, I want you to undertake some of these exercises off uh, eh, from today. And I want you to do these when you have some time beyond today. But now, after receiving some divine direction, I want you to pull out your paper and I want you to make as many I am statements as possible related to your divine direction, even if you haven't done those already. I'll give you an example. I've started doing this for the last couple of years. I've been doing this after I read a book that inspired me to do so. And I say daily, I probably say 10 to 20 times. I'm an inspirational speaker. I'm a spiritual leader. I'm a New York Times best-selling author. I'm inspiring people to live the life of their dreams. I'm a loving husband and father. Now, I am currently a loving husband and father, at least I try to be. But, I haven't published my book yet, but I am manifesting being a New York Times best-selling author by reciting that to myself every day for the last couple of years. And I'm already inspiring people to live the life of their dreams by presenting these workshops. When I started that, I didn't have any workshops. I hadn't yet done a course. We didn't even have a website a couple years ago when I started doing this. So I'm making these things real by taking that action. Write those I am statements based on your divine direction. And then for now, let's just take 2 minutes here and write down as many I am statements related to the divine direction you have received about who you're meant to be, about your true self, not necessarily where you are today, but about who you're meant to be. Co-create your world with your higher power. I'm going to give you a couple minutes to do that. Okay. Again, if you, I highly suggest you do this afterwards as well and start reciting those I am statements as many times as you possibly can. I place my hand on my heart after I say, I love you while I'm in bed dozing off to sleep. I may say these I am statements. I say them when I wake up. I am becoming who I am meant to be. I am that I am, as God declared to Moses in Exodus 3:14. I've done this for the last couple of years. My I am statements. I recite my I am statements multiple times a day during meditation, when falling asleep, when being challenged. You are co-creating your world with your higher power. You are becoming who you are meant to be by declaring who you are and what you're co-creating with God. And we're about to close, and I want to leave you with a couple thoughts. Excuse me a second. I've said before, but life goes in seasons and cycles. And in the seasons of struggle grows our next big leap forward. You want to love the struggle, the pain, and the challenges because it makes you better. It allows you to grow more than when life is easy. You want to be grateful for the winter of life because soon comes your time to bloom. And right now it's springtime and it's time to bloom. It's time to co-create your future. When you connect a negative charge and a positive charge in a battery, you create power. When you bring the negativity from your life and with faith combine it with positivity, you create power. Your power, your pure, unbridled power to live the life of your dreams. So you want to take all that negativity, all that pain, all that struggle, all those challenges, and combine them with your positive determination to live as your true self, to live life on purpose. And with faith, you will create boundless energy. As I said a few minutes ago, faith knows it is already received and acts accordingly. Every single thing you see, every single thing you can touch that is not naturally occurring was just an idea in a person's mind. Your car, your phone, your computer, your house, your pen, they were all just a vision inside a person just like you. And other than nature and animals, everything you see every day was just an idea in another person's head. It was their still small voice from within. It was their divine inspiration. It was their faith calling them, but they gave it life. They leapt and the net appeared. They took the first step and the staircase appeared. So if you see the person looking back at you and longing for more, then take action. That look of longing is faith within you, knowing that you are meant for more and pleading with you to take that leap. The eyes staring at you, wondering why you are stuck doing the same thing, is the faith within you calling you to take the next step to be the person you are meant to be, your true self. In the immortal words of Dr. King, stated at the beginning of today's lesson, faith is taking the first step even when you don't see the whole staircase. You want to build that staircase. Envision a grand staircase. Envision yourself at the top of the stairs. What do you like at the top of the stairs? Who is your future self waiting for you at the top of the stairs? Run up those stairs to be your true self. Run up those stairs like Rocky running up to the steps of the art museum in Philadelphia, and then raise your hands up in the air, your fists up in the air in victorious celebration. Because once you take the first step, you will no longer see yourself with yearning. You will see your true self. You will see that the light in the mirror is you. You will see that you are made of the same stuff as stars and are meant to shine. Co-create your world with your higher power. See that you are made of the same stuff as stars and are meant to shine. I thank you so much for taking the time to be here for yourselves today. I'm truly honored and grateful that you gave me your time and attention today. I hope you'll join us for tomorrow is our community happy hour. And on community happy hour, like I said, we close our week strong and we celebrate our wins together for the week. And we set our intention for the next week. We have some fun. We do a couple ice breaking exercises. It lasts about an hour. It's never more than an hour. Like I said, it's happy hour. It's time to be happy together, close our week strong, and it's a great thing to do. Next week, we go back to our Aligned Habits workshop. So if you've never done that, I hope you'll join us next Thursday at the same time for the Aligned Habits workshop. If you do want to join the community happy hour, you just go to the website under resources. I think the second block down is for community happy hour. And there's the link right there, benparvey.com/happy hour. Takes you to that. You also, if you haven't yet done it, there's the link right there. So join us for happy hour. A couple other announcements. We do have our True Self project. If you have not yet registered for that, I know some of the people on have. You can scan that QR code or you see it on the website. It's a very, very powerful. It's only $30, $1 a day for incredible transformation. Some of the concepts I talked about today, like discovering your true self, setting big, inspiring goals, and then creating habits that help make achieving those goals inevitable. We go through those. We go through good habits. We go through bad habits. We go through closing strong, getting your goals set each month and updating them. A lot of helpful tools and tricks, things that I've learned and incorporated over the years. I'm going to help you save a bunch of time and do it in 30 days instead of the years it's taken me. And keep a lookout for what we're doing. Always follow us on social media. I know we have some new posts that have gone up in the last week or so. We have some more going up. Recording some short videos. I have some new articles up there. By all means, go check those out. And yeah, come to happy hour tomorrow at noon Eastern. Hope to see you there. It's been a growing, thriving community, and we appreciate you being here. Bless you all. Thank you for taking the time, and take that first step, even if you don't see the whole staircase. Bless you. Be well. I'm happy to stay on for a couple minutes if anyone has any questions. I will stay on. Otherwise, be well. And remember, you are made of the same stuff as stars and are meant to shine. Be well. Thank you so much for joining.